Now, let's talk about the NFC South, which sucked last year. Let's not beat around the bush with that. The NFC South sucked, and Carolina got in with what was it, a 7-8-1 record or something like that. I don't remember, but that was the best team in the division. So, but I don't think that division is not going to be what we seen last year. Starting off with the Saints. We know they have Drew Brees. He's averaging 5,000 yards per season for the last 4 seasons, which is retarded to me. That's unheard of. That's video game numbers. Averaging 5,000 yards a season, but he's getting older, so you're going to see him decline. We had Mark Ingram emerge last season as a premier back, and they brought in C.J. Spiller this offseason, which was a great pickup. They lost Kenny Stills from their receiving court. The biggest piece, which is going to hurt them, is the loss of Jimmy Graham when they trade him away to the Seahawks. He was the go-to guy in that offense, and I think their receiving core is pretty light. They still have Marcus Colston, who was 49 years old, I think, and I think Marcus Colston is going to start. As weird as that sounds, but they were also in the Jimmy Graham trade able to bring in Max Unger, who was going to help their lineup. Their line needs a ton of help. Defensively, I think they signed Stephen Anthony to help their linebacker corp out, and they brought in Brandon Browner from the Patriots, I think was their best pickup this offseason. And that secondary is starting to look like something. They have Jarius Burt still out there playing safety. And I think they drafted P.J. Williams in the third round also to help with their secondary. But with them having a lack of receivers, it's hard to see who Drew Brees is going to throw the ball to besides C.J. Spiller. And all I see them doing is 7-9, which is better than last year. But I think the Saints' time as one of the top teams is done right now until they rebuild. So
I can agree about them being crappy this year. I actually think they'll do worse than 7-9. Not so sure what their record will be, but I don't see them winning 7 games. I see them as the Aints, with the brown paper bags over their faces, because let's be real, that's too much of a rebuild to do, to come back from. It's everything, because you got to realize, how many more years does Drew Brees have? Their whole switching around their defense and the switching around of, it's too much. It's one of those situations where you don't even know where to begin to kind of see where you can see any type of positive something going on there, because what the one light of positivity is there's so much more negative that goes along with everything that's going on there. You said, who is Drew Brees throwing the ball to? Who's protecting Drew Brees? Drew Brees was pretty much that team last year anyway. He was out there, and that's why he threw the ball crazy, and also which made him get crazy interceptions and everything. So it's and then that's if that line can even protect him from getting hurt, because I see him as having an injury year this year. I don't see him completing the whole season. He's gonna get injured, and I don't know who they're gonna rely on to pick up their offense, because that's pretty much that was their crutch for the last season. It was their offense, because defensively, come on, we've seen some of those games. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe they'll look up and win 7 games, but I'm gonna be nice and say 6-10.
That's nice.
That's nice. It is in the South.
Well, yeah, that.
It's to me, I see the same issue with the whole South in general. It's kind of that same thing. The only person who that really has that quarterback that's so far is solid would be the Carolina Panthers. Everybody else is kind of we don't know. You got those quarterbacks that's going to keep throwing, and it's up in the air with the NFC South.
I trust the Saints defense this year. way more than I trust their offense. So
yeah, last year was their offense that they relied on. This year still have to be their defense, and
I think Rob Ryan is going to have them guys
but
solid.
that's one person.
Yeah.
And then once everybody figure that out, then what's your next game plan? Like, where do you go from there?
Sorry, Saints. Maybe next year. The Carolina Panthers. Let you have them.
Okay. Once again, it's one of these NFC South teams, which kind of bores the hell out of me. So, but okay, the Carolina Panthers. They were kind of like this last season, but then they had that little spike towards the end, and I think they're going to kind of ride off of that high that they left off last season. It's always good to leave, to come in off a high as opposed to, starting off good and then just falling off. So I think they'll continue that, and maybe Cam Newton have a little bit more confidence this year, with his contract, and I see their defense being pretty much pretty pivotal with their just going to be a part of their success. But I'm going to have to say I don't see them, being above the Falcons this year. So I'm going to say they're going to be 9-7. But I do see them as possibly being a wild card in the playoffs this year.
The Panthers are one of the better defensive teams in the league. They're top 3 defense. And what they did is, in the first round, they drafted another linebacker to go on that line with Luke Kuechly, who's the best middle linebacker in the game. Cam Newton, he got a new contract. He's a $100 million man. You have Kelvin Benjamin, who flourished as a rookie receiver, and I think he's only going to get better. And they drafted Devin Funchess in the second round to, compliment him. They have Greg Olsen as well, who's one of the top 3 or 4 tight ends in football. And I think last year, I don't think the record showed the true talent of that team last year. I think this year will exactly do that. They're going to have a tough schedule with them finishing first. They have to play all the other first place teams from last year, but I think their defense is strong enough to carry them. And the offense isn't bad. But they brought in Michael Orr this offseason to help with that line, to help protect Cam Newton, and I give them 10-6. I think they will go 10-6. Worst case scenario, if everybody stays healthy and they have the team that you see on paper there, 8-8. But I think 10-6, and is either going to be them or the Falcons that's going to compete for the NFC South title.
Agree. Not about their record, but I agree about the competition.
So yeah, it'll definitely be up to the Panthers or the Falcons. So the Atlanta Falcons, they went 6-10 last year. They were dealing with a lot of injuries, but at the end of the day, their defense was horrible. They were at the bottom of the barrel in terms of all defensive stats. Their secondary was like there was no one out there. But they did a lot of good things in the draft to address that. They drafted Vic Beasley in the first round to help with their linebacking core. I think that was a very good pickup for them. But as far as the team in whole, they're going in a new system. They have the new coach Dan Quinn coming in. You have Kyle Shanahan coming in to be the new offensive coordinator, which I think Matt Ryan is going to flourish in his system. You still have 2 awesome wide receivers in Julio Jones and Roddy White. Their running game, they lost Steven Jackson, but they drafted Tevin Coleman in the 3rd round in hopes that he's one of those middle round steals and he'll be productive for him. But the key area that they needed to address, and I think they did in the draft, was their defense. Vic Beasley, and they drafted Jalen Collins in the 2nd round to help with their secondary, and I think this is definitely not going to be the Falcons team that you've seen last year. I think Matt Ryan is going to have a great year. I can see him having a 4,200, 28 touchdown, 12 interception type season. And I will give the Falcons a smooth 10-6, which will be enough to compete for that NFC South title, and they can very much walk away with it. What do you think?
I agree with the record. I think we're probably the only team that we've been exactly on the same page about. Everything should be a little, with the new offensive coordinator, and Matt Ryan will be Matt Ryan, and 10-6.
And they have a new defensive coordinator as well. They pretty much got a whole new system in there, so I think they're going to pick up on it right away.
Yeah, they'll be fine. They'll win the NFC South. They will win the NFC South.
And winning any playoff games?
No. They cannot compete with teams such as the Packers or even the Cowboys. Packers, Cowboys, hell, they can barely compete with the Panthers. So, no, they will not win a playoff game.
I can see the Panthers having to play them in the first round and beating them.
Yeah. Yeah, so.
10-6, but the sky's the limit from there. We all know that.
The limit's the sky.
Tampa Bay Bucks. What do you think?
4-12. It's like you're talking about a team that's rebuilding. A team that pretty much hasn't been the same since Chucky left. You got Jameis Winston, and I don't know. I think that's their only big change, and then them having him as a starter is going to be like a bit of a challenge. I think they should have waited, kind of ease them in there instead of just like putting them like bam. I think they'll be okay defensively because they've always been that team that, even though they struggle offensively, they will always, have that defense to kind of help them struggle along the way, take the burden off a little bit. They'll be a losing team, but they won't be that team that you could just go in and beat up on because their defense will be, strong enough to kind of, handle the pressure of any type of, not any type of offense, but a decent offense that will come in there. Their defense should be able to handle that offense. But, offensively, the Bucks have been, for years, just that it's always been a struggle. And I haven't seen them do anything to try to, at least fix it. The most they might add to it is just their running, and then with the running back, and then they end up running those running backs into the ground, and they kind of deplete from there. Their quarterbacks typically get pushed around, and, they wear and tear. They take a lot of their quarterbacks. A lot of their quarterbacks get taken out a little earlier than they could. They get used and abused down there. I'll say it's like a Ike and Tina type thing with them. So 4-12, barely.
Ouch. Now I don't want everybody to be under the impression that Jameis Winston is the savior. The immediate savior for this team, because he's not. He's the starter, yes, but we all know he's going to go through some growing pains if he in fact is the quarterback for the future for the franchise. One good thing that he has is he has two stellar receivers, and I use that word stellar with caution because Vincent Jackson is aging. He had a great year last year, but he's over 30. But you have Mike Evans on the other side who had a very good rookie season, and I don't see him going into any type of sophomore slump. And of course, when you draft a quarterback in the first round, you have to draft a lineman around him immediately after that, and that's exactly what they did. They drafted two offensive linemen in the second round. and I think that's going to help him get him and keep him protected and get them the running game going because they have to rely on the running game. The problem with that is they don't have a reliable running back to help with that. They have Doug Martin and Bobby Rainey, which they'll probably use a running back by committee. They probably use 3 running backs in the game. Their defense, like you said, they're a very good defense, and they don't get the credit I think that they should deserve. They drafted Quan Alexander in the 4th round, which I think is going to be a steal, and I think he's even not right away. He's going to come up and he's going to be one of those late round steals. But like you said, they're in the not a tough division, but it's tough to them. It's tough on them. And I don't see them pretty much improving that much on their 2 wins. I give them 5-11 this year. They might shock a couple of teams in a couple of games, but I think the best they'll do is 5-11.
Yeah, I just think they need like another draft to pick up their missing pieces. It wasn't enough. I mean, like they're heading in the right direction, like as far as like on paper, and everything should be. And that's if everything goes like they're not really getting beat up on, and there's not too many injuries, and then they can go into the next draft and see where they can put in those missing pieces, and then there'll be that competitive team down there with. They will take over, as far as like I think they will take that spot of the Saints because the Saints is on decline. Because I think after next year the Saints will probably be like at the bottom of the NFC South. So that will be the Bucs' opportunity to, go up one or even tie with either the Falcons or the Panthers.
Yeah. So I have Jameis Winston. I mean, he could win Offensive Rookie of the Year, but that's a reach to guess that right now.
Yeah, especially with that team.
Yeah, so you're going to see a lot of growing pains of Buccaneers fans for a couple of years, but
y'all used to it anyway.
Yeah, they've been growing since they won it, but I mean, sorry to say, 5-11, 4-12.
Yeah.
Cryssy says so.
Bring back Chucky. And
really?
Then, bring back Chucky. Bring back Chucky. Bring back. Y'all have to bring back every damn body. The creamsicle suits and everything for that.
You might need Warren Sapp back.
Yeah, but he's too busy paying prostitutes with burgers.
Let's not bother Warren. All right.
Had to struggle to get it where I'm at to sell dope.